Welcome to TrulyFit.
Welcome to the TrulyFit Podcast, where we interview experts in fitness and health to expand our wisdom and wealth. I'm your host, Steve Washuta, co-founder of TrulyFit and author of Fitness Business 101. If you found me on YouTube, great, congratulations. Most of our listeners are on audio only. I did not, when I first started this podcast, I did not record a lot of the podcast video like this. And then when I started to do it, I made the mistake of not announcing it on the audio podcasts. So if you're watching this rather than listening to this, congratulations and thank you for watching. This podcast is a solo episode. I do interviews with experts in fitness and health, anything from registered dietitians to physicians to mental health professionals to even business professionals that are intertwined with the health and fitness world. And we go over whatever their particular expertise is. Maybe they wrote a book, maybe they have an argument that I think is interesting that I want to unpack. And when I do solo episodes, it's typically something that is trending or something that I talked about on a podcast previously with a guest that I want to expand on. These are shorter. I try to keep them under 15 minutes. My interview episodes are longer, sometimes closer to 45 minutes or an hour. Quick housekeeping here. I do have 2 interview episodes coming up. One is on a particular kind of diet called a fasting mimicking diet and the product that goes along with that. And then the other one is going to be on a product and the science behind this particular product about sort of a hangover cure, for lack of a better option in naming there. So today I want to talk about the mental health space here, which I do a lot, talk about social media, why it's bad for us and why we should do what we can to distance ourselves from it as much as possible. I know a lot of people's business models in the fitness and health world are intertwined with it. That doesn't mean that you can't do things like post in advance, make all of your content at one time, and then set it on a schedule using particular programs like a Zoho Social, and not spend so much time doom scrolling. I'm not telling people what to do with their lives. I'm just telling you that there is more than just a correlation, right? There's a causation between how much time you're spending on social media, what you're seeing, the sort of the comparing aspects between other people's lives, what they're showing you, the reality of actually what's going on and how you feel about your life. So I do talk about that a lot. I've had on mental health professionals like Dr. Blair Steele on the podcast 2 or 3 times. I've had on behavioral specialists for children and adolescents. And the list goes on here. And today I want to talk about what I see going on, what was once maybe more of a political issue that is now spreading down to the medical and health and fitness world, is that there's so many conspiracy theories. And conspiracy theories are so easy to get wrapped up in and so confusing because there are portions of theories that can shake out. But that doesn't mean the entirety of the theory is correct. And I think I've talked about this before, maybe even on the last podcast, we look for answers. We always want to find answers as humans. That's what our brain does. So if we can connect certain dots and we can make an answer, that is going to be better for us psychologically than having no answer, than just saying, I don't have an answer. And that's how these conspiracy theories arise. Not to mention, a lot of times it's the really smart people who can build these connections and present them in such a way where they're confident in their ability to believe this. They're confident in their ability to connect the dots, coupled with their presentation skills and the veracity of their dyed-in-the-wool mentality of, yes, this is definitely happening. It's spreading like a cancer, and I see conspiracy theories everywhere, and they almost can't be challenged, because a lot of times when these conspiracy theories are challenged, again, like I said, unless you have a really, really long debate, there's always a few things that make sense in these conspiracy theories that nobody is denying. But when you tie them all together and try to prove a thesis, I think that's where things go wrong. And it's now happening so much in even my world. And there's so many issues in the health and fitness world where it's always best to say, all the data isn't in. We're still looking into it. Yes, you can do this, but let's just wait on this. And that's not what we do. Even on things I talk about often on this podcast, in my day, back in the 80s and 90s and even early 2000s, if you went to any sort of gym class or any sport, baseball, football, basketball, football, your coach would have you static stretch before you did anything. you would be static stretching. Now we know that is not the right thing to do, right? We want a dynamic stretch. We want an active stretch. We want to move around, move the joints in all full ranges of motion, get some blood flow to the less vascular areas. We cold stretch at the end, right? We static stretch and we move through ranges of motion before we go into an athletic event. And the knees over toes, we always thought that was bad. Even the highest level certifications in the fitness industry would tell you that was bad until basically 5 minutes ago, where now we know that's not really the case. It's that people, maybe if they had prior knee issues, if they were of a certain age, or if they were doing knees over toes in too quick of a manner, maybe they were doing it weighted, that there could be issues. But if you did it in the right manner, if you worked your way into it, if you were developing that skill set in a very timely and patient manner, that long-term, the health of your patella and your knee is going to be better, to be pushing that range of motion. Again, doing it under some form of guidance, not just trying it on your own. And, there are a lot of things in the health and fitness industry that were just like this, right? Eggs are bad, eggs are good, eggs are bad, eggs are good. Every other week, there's a new study that comes out on this. So because there's always new information coming in, because there's different lenses in which you can see things through, we're all very biodiverse. Maybe there is something that is bad for me, but it could be good for you, or vice versa. That doesn't mean that we should throw the baby out with the bathwater, so to speak, right? We have to take the data, take the information, see how it applies to us. Is it applicable to me and my body? And maybe I need to do some trial and error in that. But going back to the conspiracy theories here, I sort of wanted to prove why we really need to be worried, because we can trick ourselves very easily. So I wanted to see, can I trick you? Right? Can I trick my listeners into a conspiracy theory? Now, obviously, this is a joke, but I decided to go into my daughter's room. She is 4 years old, and pick out one of her books, completely random, right? No thought to this. And if you don't believe me that it's random, I'll pick out another book. I'll do this again. I'll do it again next week or the week after. I can make a series out of this. And I picked out a random book, and I said, you know what? Let me see if I can do 15, 20 minutes of research, look into some of the things here, and look for a conspiracy theory, right? Try to prove a conspiracy theory about my daughter's children's book. So here we go. The book is called The Tooth Book by Dr. Seuss. And you will see also illustrated by Joe Matthew. So I started to do a little bit of digging. And this tooth book here, the dentistry industry, is fake. You don't need it. They're putting fluoride in our water for no reason. We don't need to clean our teeth. Who cleaned their teeth 200 years ago? And they're coming after your children. They're trying to indoctrinate your children to go to the dentist. And I'm going to prove it. I'm going to show you all the connections here. So first, Joe Matthew is the illustrator of this book. And if you flip through this book, you'll see that the pictures, that's what's really trying to get your kids, right? The pictures in every page, the pictures, they try to relate to your children. They're really talking about everything teeth here, right? The whole book is around why it's so important to take care of your teeth. It's the most important thing, maybe. More important than building friendships and relationships and getting outside. Take care of your teeth, kids. Okay, well, let's look at the illustrator, Joe Matthew. Well, upon, just 5 minutes of research, we find that this cartoonist went to RISD, which, for those of you who don't know, is the Rhode Island School of Design. Let's look into this Rhode Island School of Design. Who else went there? Does he maybe have any other connections? Well, right away, who comes up? Seth MacFarlane. For those of you who don't know Seth MacFarlane, he's the creator of Family Guy. A little bit of research here. I don't know if any of you watched Family Guy. I went on YouTube, and there are dozens of Family Guy clips. Dozens that have to do with teeth and the dentist. I can play the YouTube for you right now. I don't know if it'll shut me down, but I'll try to go ahead and play the YouTube clips.
Dental moments in Family Guy. At number 5, we have Peter's bad breath blowing onto Stewie.
Two can play at that game. Friendly fire!
At number 4, we saw Peter becoming a dental sink.
Okay, go ahead and spit.
It's okay, go ahead.
At number 3, we have Peter hanging out with the wrong crowd and became a cavity monster. At number 2, we have Stewie teething.
Should we bite the tongue then? On 3. 1, 2, ah!
At number 1, young Peter had a toothache and his mom had a remedy.
My tooth hurts.
So you see, that was just some of those clips, some of those YouTube clips that Seth MacFarlane did. Why? Why so many dental references in a TV show based on a random cartoon sort of pop culture humor? Isn't that odd? No? Let's continue to go down this RISD rabbit hole here, Rhode Island School of Design. Who else went there? James Franco. So we have Seth MacFarlane and James Franco who went there. I'm not sure if you guys have read Hollywood Babylon, which is about basically the satanic dark secrets of Hollywood and how they infiltrate our minds and they brainwash us. Okay, so now we have Seth MacFarlane and James Franco, who both went to the Rhode Island School of Design. Listen to this quote by James Franco. James Franco said this, word for word. When I was a child, I wanted to be an actor, but I had really bad buck teeth. I didn't want to get braces, but my mom said I couldn't be an actor if I didn't get the braces. So I got the braces. It's like they're laughing at us. They're not even trying to hide it. James Franco is now publicly saying the reason he was an actor, he's telling other kids who potentially want to be an actor, the reason I was an actor is because I went to the orthodontist and the dentist. Seth MacFarlane is showing all of these clips about the dentist. Let's keep digging further. Joe Matthew, who else did he work for throughout his career? Outside of the Dr. Seuss books. Jim Henson. He worked hand in hand with Jim Henson a lot. Okay. Jim Henson on the Muppets. Jim Henson did not do a lot of the voices on the Muppets. But do you know what voice he did on the Muppets? You're not going to believe this. Dr. Teeth. Yes, there was a character called Dr. Teeth. Jim Henson did the voice for Dr. Teeth. They're laughing at us. They are laughing at us, okay? Horace Wells, who had a practice in Hartford, Connecticut, invented and discovered what was called pain-free dentistry and anesthesia for dentists. Working out of Connecticut. Where do you think this book was published? If you had to take a guess. Yeah, Danbury, Connecticut. And the illustrator, Joe Matthew, where do you think he lives? Who this all circles back to? You guessed it. Not very far away in another small town in Connecticut. So what do we have here? We have this book purporting to just be a friendly book about teeth, written by Joe Matthew, who went to the Rhode Island School of Design, who has connections to Seth MacFarlane, who talks about dentistry on a regular basis for some odd reason in his pop culture cartoon humor, who has connections with James Franco, who also went to the Rhode Island School of Design, who talks about why he needed to get his teeth fixed to be an actor. We know the Hollywood Babylon story about how they're trying to brainwash us and infiltrate us. He also, Joe Matthew, worked with Jim Henson of the Muppets, who is, like a lot of Muppet indoctrination, has a character named Dr. Teeth. Every one of these people lives in Connecticut in and around each other, which also Horace Wells did, who invented and discovered pain-free dentistry. Does this not all add up to you? Do you not see the connection here and what they're trying to do? Okay, so I'm done playing a character here, but I hope you can see that even in a very joking manner that only took me 10 minutes to put together, that these are the sorts of things with a lot more energy and a lot more finances and a lot more fervor. These are the conspiracy theories that are put out on a regular basis. And if you can be convinced, even by me, right? Even if for 1 second you stop to think, that is weird. Can you believe Steve found those things? Not all those things are real. None of those things are bullshit. Everything that I said was real, except the fact that I believe they're all connected and not just random things that I'm putting together to form a thesis of some sorts. That's complete nonsense. So people much smarter than me with much more time and much more money are doing this now in all industries, from politics to medical to healthcare and to supplements, you name it, they're doing it. And really ask yourself, have you been convinced by something before? Do you need to take a step back and look? And every time somebody tries to purport something in which there are secondary and tertiary connections, and it takes 7 or 8 different steps in order to round everything up into one big package. Remind yourself that the unlikely nature of that being true is very high, and that you should try to poke holes in that before believing it. And then we have to fight this. We have to fight this natural inclination to move towards the conspiratorial nature, because it's hurting. It's hurting us in society. It's hurting our children. When you let 1 or 2 of these infect you, so to speak, everything else around you, you start questioning, and you start trying to find the connections. And you might think that's an enlightening principle of some sort. Yeah, now I'm going to just question everything. Yeah, of course you want to question everything in a sense, but I think we're questioning the wrong things, right? We're questioning things. It's not even time. It's not like, oh, how long have we known this thing for? That doesn't mean that's not solidifying anything. In fact, I made a case the other way around where we thought cold stretching was good for, whatever, maybe 50 or 100 years. And then we know that's not the right way to warm up. But what I'm saying is, when the evidence is presented, is it mechanistic evidence? Do we have direct video evidence of these things? Do we have an initial connection, or are they 2 or 3 connections deep that needs all of those other pieces in concert to all be true in order for things to work, like this bullshit I just made up? So that's my spiel for today. I hope people are straying away from the conspiracy theorists of the world, or at least listening to them and understanding how they go about the process so that you can reverse engineer that, right? I think it's important to be able to reverse engineer theories and see if it actually works in both directions. This has been an episode of the TrulyFit Podcast. Thanks for listening.